Creative Life Survival Guide, where I share survival tips on creativity, productivity, and balancing a creative life. I'm your host, Laura. Hello, creatives. Welcome into the Creative Life Survival Guide. I'm your host, Laura, and I have my husband, Alan, here with us again today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me again.
I know, and I think it's awesome because we kind of wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about, kind of how we balance our different creative lives because, not everybody has the same hobby. Not everybody has the same pursuits.
Yeah.
And you pursue rocketry. That's, a big interest of yours. And mine is writing, a little bit of podcasting and things like that. But we've kind of had an interesting, kind of introduction to each other's different hobbies and kind of move forward with that. But
throughout our relationship.
Yeah, of course. So you have a lot of rocketry stuff related on the weekends. Specifically like launches and things like that. I know recently we haven't been able to go out and do that very often, but that's, think about
thank you, coronavirus.
Right. But we kind of wanted to talk about how we're able to support each other and how maybe you can use some of these tips to, kind of support other people's creative hobbies, and whether that's your partner or not, or maybe it's just your friends. Thank you. So I have a couple tips that I've kind of looked up, and the first one is considering the time it takes to do the hobby. So your rocketry stuff happens during the weekend. My writing kind of happens whenever,
I mean, the formal events like launching, that happens out on the weekend because you really can't do that just, willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Especially for the big high power stuff with the FAA waiver. So that does require a weekend, but there's a lot that goes into it preparatory, like building rockets. You've seen me puttering about gluing something or sanding something or painting something, after work on an evening sometime. Mm-hmm. There are parts that go little bits in the days also, kind of like writing, I would think.
Right. And so stuff that we've done specifically is, writing is kind of individualistic. Some of rocketry, I mean, I don't really know all the ins and outs of rocketry, but I'm interested in it, and I can watch you do it and things like that. But some tips are, if it is an individual hobby, is kind of, I consider the time it takes for me to write. I like a lot of focus, and so I'm a morning person. You are not a morning person.
No. Which
means that during the morning hours, I can come downstairs and write and have that kind of peace and quiet. And in the evenings, you've been able to work a little bit more, maybe just more focused time on your rockets and things like that.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
So whenever I'll go to bed and he'll stay downstairs and work on his rockets or do whatever he needs to do with that, and I'll get up in the mornings and do that. So it's it kind of takes advantage of our kind of separate times. It's kind of something that we can do individually, so that while we are awake, we are kind of spending time together and balancing life with each other.
But we also find ways to share in each other's hobbies, because we both like to learn and experience new things.
Yes. And that is the second tip, is finding ways to balance spending time together. So not just, doing these things separately, and then once we're both awake, we completely ignore them. It's it is finding a way to kind of, involve the other person. I'll hold some things. I'll help you twist your little thing for paint.
Oh, yeah, that is super helpful.
I mean,
really
so we find things to kind of share a little bit and incorporate our partner in the activities. So when it comes to rocketry, I can kind of help there. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know enough to kind of help you a little bit here and there. And when it comes to writing, I can always, bounce an idea off of you, or say, hey, I think I'm going to kill this person again.
and that makes me feel special too, because I kind of get the spoiler and the sneak peek into what you're developing and what you're writing before most anyone else sees it.
Well, and I think the same goes the other way, is I get to kind of appreciate, everything that goes into building a rocket. And then when you finally get to launch it and things like that, it makes that event so much more special than it already is, and stuff like that. So being able to share that with each other, I think is really cool. And not all hobbies are like that, but there are ways that you can kind of incorporate your partner or incorporate your friends or whatever it is into those activities.
Like you like photography, you like taking pictures. So every now and then you'll come out to a launch with me and work on trying to get pictures of the liftoffs and the flame and the smoke, and just see me in one of my habitats with, my people and my rocketry community and the interaction that goes on there.
And that's really important too, is you kind of get to see a little bit into, somebody else's world and see something that's different than what you're used to. And it part of that has actually kind of, inspired me to write different things and have different conversations. I mean, for me specifically, like, as a writer, you kind of try to listen to everything. You try to, overhear conversations and incorporate that into your writing and stuff like that. But, we've also talked about, so right now we got married, and we have not actually had a wedding ceremony, but we've talked about, kind of somehow being able to incorporate rockets and writing into our wedding ceremony and things like that as well, or our reception party. So it's just kind of like those little fun things that you can look at, and instead of looking at it all as like individual pursuits, which they all can be, there are times where you would like to work on your rocket with focus, and I would like to write with focus, and we kind of do our own thing during those times, but there are times where we can incorporate each other into it. Another tip is showing support, even if it's not your thing. So, I've tried to show support when it comes to rocketry. It's not really my thing. Like, I've been working on my own rocket with you a little bit. We've kind of had some busy times and haven't been able to work on it recently.
Yeah,
but
and that was something you just brought up on your own. It was like, hey, maybe I can build a rocket with you sometime. So that's, that's just a way you temporary, even if it never happens again. It's like you've joined in with me in a way that's super cool. It's a great way to spend time with each other. And you let me read over your books or edit them or ask me about ideas. You've even, had me be alongside in your writing group. And I get to see you actually lead people and talk to people publicly, which is not your
my
preferred thing to do.
Right. I like to hide behind this microphone where nobody can see my face, or there's no live audience, but so that is one way to kind of show support. You are a live audience. This is very nerve-wracking for me, trying to be perfect in front of my husband, who is now seeing this podcast for the first time. But the final thing is also talk to your friend, to your partner, whoever it is, about what kind of support they're interested in. Like, when it comes to rocketry, you very well could have been like, hey, I want this to be my thing. And, or, if it came to writing, if I was too nervous to show you a first draft or something like that, that's your thing. But, maybe talk to them about what kind of support you'd like. Do you want them to help you? Do you want them to, sit and turn the little rocket thing so you can paint, or, things like that? Do you just want them to listen to certain scenes, or, bounce ideas off of something, or, whatever it is, or, look at first drafts of work and things like that. So, maybe talk to your partner or your friend, or however they kind of would like you to support, and things like that. So you've recently supported me and purchased my book for the first time.
That's really funny. Yeah, I did actually purchase your first book, Soul Forgotten, available on Amazon.
It is, yes.
And we talked about that a while ago.
Yeah.
Because I guess from a practical standpoint, I don't often purchase things I don't need.
That's fair.
And I had already read your book. I had read your early drafts also. This is something I already had access to. And we were joking around with, I think, your family. And you were like, oh, yeah, you haven't even bought my first book. And I realized, no, I haven't. That is a way I can support my girlfriend and fiance at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an easy way I can buy her book.
Yeah.
Maybe even write a review about it. Although
I do need you to write a review.
I may not be able to be seen as objective or unbiased in the matter.
That's okay. My book is amazing. Everybody should read it. And if you want to read it, I'm actually offering it for free. So if you go to patreon.com/Laura Winter, and I'll link that in the show notes, you can actually follow along with my first book for free. So I'll release a new chapter every Tuesday on Patreon. And actually every Wednesday, I'll be releasing commentary. And then on Fridays, I'll also be releasing some either bonus commentary or works in progress. So you can kind of follow along with some of the stuff that I'm writing, and maybe get some more comments from Alan and see what he's up to with his rocket stuff. But if you become a patron, you can actually kind of get inside looks at some of the things that I'm writing and working on. And So if you have somebody who is, kind of trying to follow the creative life or anything, or even you, maybe, talk to your friends and share with them what kind of support you'd like. And if you know somebody else in your life, and, as a creative community, we're very big on supporting each other. We talked about that last week with the rocketry community being really supportive online. And, most creative communities are really supportive. They try to encourage other people to, follow their pursuits and get better and build things and stuff like that. So if you have other people, whether it's your thing or not, kind of comment on things, share, buy. You don't necessarily have to spend all your money on certain things, but if you just leave little comments, share their posts or whatever on social media, if you leave reviews, that's super helpful for all the creatives. If they have a Patreon, definitely go and try to support. You can follow people's Patreons without actually paying anything. So anything they post for free, you might get early access if you do become a patron. But those are some fun things to kind of do and support your partner and kind of, it may not be your hobby, but there are ways to kind of balance and work on it together. So that's all we have for the Creative Life Survival Guide this week. Thank you so much for coming on, Alan. I know this is your favorite thing to do in the world.
Thanks for having me.
His Star Wars game is updating right now, which is why I was able to steal him for a few moments. But all right, folks, I will see you next week on the Creative Life Survival Guide. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Creative Life Survival Guide. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen. To find more information or survival tips for your creative life, head to laura-winter.com.